Hello, my name is Sister Frida Goodhum of the Kentucky Fried Sisters, current abbess. I would like to talk to you, board members, and potential board members about a proposed project. As some of you know that I'm taking a class this semester on nonprofit grant writing, and I was allowed in this class the opportunity to use KFS as my chosen nonprofit despite being small and new. And with this class came an exciting challenge to create a new project for the house, one that I've briefly mentioned before that I would like to expand on now. Taking inspiration from monologue projects like the Vagina Monologues and various writing workshops, I would like to propose a new project for our house with the working title You Heard. Over the course of a designated weekend, virtual attendees can access either live or streaming later in their own time writing workshops, readings, and classes by guest educators, which would account for much of the associated cost of the event. Attendees would then create a short story or biographical account that's meant to be shared. Those who choose to share their completed stories will have them published in a short anthology. Notably, this is the second greatest cost for the project. Those stories, in turn, would be used to facilitate an event with actors from regional queer theater groups. And I'd like to put a pin in this. Here's a chance for us to network with another nonprofit, Read with Pride, and ask for help with a small fundraiser to offset the cost of publication, perhaps in exchange for an agreed upon number of books. If participation or contributions are limited, or the stories are short enough, this could be a streamed theater event co-produced with one of or combination of local queer theater groups like Act Out, Company Q, or Louisville's Pandora Productions. If the contributions are many or the stories longer, I propose that we work with Out in the Bluegrass and Lexington Public Radio and offer a chance for both of us to have a weekly streaming event where we share these stories that once aired is generally available on their website. Now, between the publication of these stories, their distribution, and the accompanying streamable audio or visual, I feel like the outreach and hopefully therapeutic effects of this project could spread far and echo for quite some time. Now, one of the first things to be completed in this class before we ask for money was to make a case for support. That is, who are we? Why do we deserve financial support? And you, of course, know why we are worthy of support, but for the sake of transparency, I will share with you what I am sharing with potential funders. This is a combination of our official public information and observable accounts. We are a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization. The mission of the Kentucky Fried Sisters, Convent of the Thoroughly Bred and Breaded, and the shared missions of thousands of vow-taking sacred siblings known collectively as the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence is to spread joy and expiate stigmatic guilt. That is, we exist to reiterate the positive qualities of life for those who have systematically, and because of the influence of historically oppressive institutions, been abused, neglected, or abandoned. Our goals include, but not limited to, embracing those on the periphery of the queer community, to remedy the shame burdening some of our subcultures, to build self-esteem and self-worth among those who too frequently hear that they are unworthy of praise, to advocate for queer youth, and to support LGBTQ+ affirming families. We do this by supporting the organizations that support our community and by making sure that they have the means possible to do the work that needs to be done. Members of KFS are frequently approached in person and via online communication with asks for help in the formation of new 501c3s, or to provide tangible or financial support for local organizations, or to connect individuals with the service organization best suited for their needs. Now, as I explored our work and our growing network of organizations dedicated to improving our queer families' lives, let me pause to say that I'm honored to be working with you. Next, my classmates and I were asked to explore the world of grants available, private foundations, government support, etc. And at the end of a search of the World Wide Web, I found the answer in our own backyard using the Lexington Public Library's Grant Resource Library. Just Fund Kentucky, a foundation dedicated to improving the lives of LGBTQ plus Kentuckians. Now, following this, we were asked to create a letter of intent. This is where we address what is the problem that we're trying to solve and how are we going to solve this. This one would be addressed to the Honorable Ernesto Scorsoni, in which I thank them for their past support during our early development, give a description of our organization not different than the one that I just stated for you, and explained a need for sharing our stories and of the support and benefits of sharing those stories. Queer Kentuckians continue to face religious fundamentalism, discrimination, and the impacts that those have on housing, education, bullying, familial rejection, gender policing, and even threats of violence. Now, queer people have long utilized chosen families, safe spaces, high school and college support groups, health organizations, pride centers, and at night surrounded by people like us, bars. This is particularly important in places like the Bible Belt, where it has always been up to ourselves to create spaces where we're allowed to live authentically, to share our experiences and learn that they're wildly unique. They tend to echo one another. Now, I said in my letter that it is my hope that the sisters are able to create an outlet where folks can share their experiences, histories, personal victories, fantasies with one another. I believe that this could be done through LGBTQ plus focused workshops led by queer established authors, where participants are taught the skill sets needed to create personal narratives, our stories, which deserve to be heard. I believe that through the airing of and distribution of these stories, that folks will see the benefits of support groups, of sharing those stories, of social support, and of representation, hope, fortitude, resilience. In addition to asking for financial support from Just Fund, we will of course follow up with them. We'll make sure they have published copies of the anthology, that they have access to the streaming events. But more, I would like to ask them to participate, as many of them have queer walks of life as well. And those stories might include creating a space for others to share their stories with us. Now, via this inclusion and their observation, we could get some awesome stories, or at the very least they can see the work that we're capable of doing. And that may help manifest avenues for future financial support. Now, ideally, with this particular project, their support wouldn't be needed, because if this project is successful and there are sales of the published books for donations, fundraising with associated groups like the theater groups, the reading group, this could become a self-funding event. And yet, with its success, we can earn the respect of Just Fund Kentucky. Now, for the final part of this video, I will nervously talk to you about funding for this event. Now, this is my weakness. I admit this. And if any of you would like to bounce ideas off of me, I would love that opportunity. I'm asking for a grant of at least $1,979 to offset the cost of videography, sound, webinar creation, the facilitation of the website Vimeo for class access, a month of Squarespace web hosting, printed works, to pay for the services of 4 authors and an advertising campaign. Since my originally proposed budget for the event, I ran those shared specs that we talked about in the meeting, where we talked about people's response to paid advertising on social media versus their response to our organic interactions with them. And the latter seems to get more participation in our events, and for that I need each of you. The amount mentioned above includes the absolute least that we could offer for videography without asking for outright donations of time and IT upkeep. And I ask here that we keep an open mind as an organization to using some of KFS's funds to potentially pay better rate, or at the very least to ensure that there's proper tech support during the event. Now, it is possible through the power of Ask that we find printing sponsors, web sponsors, volunteers who would do the video and tech services. But right now, at the start of this project, we should be prepared to see it paid. Now, finally, as nice as it would be to offer everything up for free to everyone, I would at least like to make this a private, pay what you can event, where when folks register for the event, they discreetly pay online and nobody knows what they paid, and nobody is shamed if they cannot pay. Whatever funds are made via that outlet will go into an account for a later writing workshop. Now, I welcome your feedback, particularly when it comes to the funding portions. You may have access to resources that I am unaware of. I would love to brainstorm with any of you on how this could be an amazing event with long-lasting, broad-reaching affect and more. I want to take a moment to ask for your participation, because I know that each of you has a story to tell, and here's a chance to share it. Thank you. They all say love. I appreciate your time.